Meeting for April 13th, 2023. We appreciate you all being here. The opening will be provided by Councilmember Nate Jackson, who will then lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right, thank you, Mayor. And welcome tonight. I just want to start off by saying, what happened at the Orchard Ridge subdivision last few days surprised us all. And I just want to recognize our public works officials, our police, our fire, all the staff that really they got out of bed and went immediately to assess the situation and to make sure it was safe for the community and evacuate those homes. Couldn't be more proud. I had a few people ask me how it was going for the council and the mayor and whatnot. And my response was, our staff is so great that really they have it covered. And really couldn't be more proud of our folks here and my colleagues here on the stand. So just wanted to say that, and then I will give a quick prayer and we'll do the pledge. Our dear Father in heaven, we are grateful to be gathered here tonight to do the work of the people and to do our best to govern our city in a fiscally responsible way and open way. And we're grateful for the opportunity to serve, and we ask for thy blessing to be with us and thy blessing to be with our community as we work to mitigate and control the flooding that happens. And we ask that our residents be safe, and ask these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. We don't have anyone that signed up during the public comment section, and so I'll move to item number 3A, a proclamation declaring April 29th as Arbor Day. Whereas Kaysville City, Utah has committed considerable time and resources to the urban forest and has chosen to set apart a special day for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday called Arbor Day is observed in every state in the Union and throughout the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of topsoil, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife, and whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify the community, and whereas wherever they are planted, trees are a source of joy and spiritual mental renewal. Now therefore I, Tammy Tran, Mayor of Kaysville City, do hereby proclaim April 29th, 2023 as Arbor Day. I also encourage all citizens to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands and to support our urban forestry program. Further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden hearts and promote the well-being of present and future generations. I will now turn the time over to Brian Johnson to present the Employee of the Quarter Award for Jeff Fillen. Come on down, Brian.
Good evening, Mayor Chan, Council. Thanks for having us here this evening. It is my pleasure tonight to be able to present the Employee of the Quarter for Kaysville City to you tonight. Jeff Fillen's been with the city for 30 years come this June. He's been a phenomenal asset to the city, helping in many different ways. The city has, in my opinion, a lot of employees that could definitely be receiving this award. But Jeff is at no doubt at the top of that list, and that's why we're here tonight. One of the first interactions that I had with him, I didn't really know who he was when I was first an apprentice, and I called him not really knowing, and he answered in his joking way and kind of gave me a little bit of grief and just kind of lightened the tempo for things. And ever since then, he's been somebody that I've always been kind of drawn to as an individual, somebody that I've liked to go just say hi to and just see how things are going and check in. And he's just that type of person with everybody. He's that way with the residents. He's that way with those that he works around with. He's somebody that's that you're kind of drawn to, and you want to easy to talk to, makes you feel good, and you look forward to the next time that you see him. So he's undergone a lot of change here at Kaysville. His position, we switched over from the old metering system that we used to have to this newer upgraded system that's required him to learn new programming, new ways, a new system, and late in his career. So, he ran with it and did a phenomenal job, and we still call him with questions about this new system, and he'll still let us know when we have issues and when we need to do something different. So he's an absolute amazing asset to the power department and to the Kaysville City, and I'd like to invite him up to receive this certificate and award.
Thank you, Brian. We want to get a picture with you.
Or do you have something to say?
Oh, yeah, unless you have something to say.
All I'm going to say is, we all know the employees of the corridor, it's not me, it's the snowplow drivers.
Yeah, well.
Those are the employees of the corridor, so thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff. We want to get a picture with you. Come back up. Not going to stay? No. That is fantastic. Jeff's a good guy. Everyone is a good guy, or good person, but he's really fun. Okay, he did leave quickly. Okay, the next award that we have is a well-deserved award, and I am so excited to be able to see this presented. Actually, it was presented, I think last week? Okay, 2 weeks ago. Okay, well, so Chief Oberg is receiving the Police Chief of the Year award. It's a really big deal, a really great honor. And I'm going to introduce Executive Director Val Shoup to present this award to Chief Oberg. Val is the Executive Director for the Utah Chiefs of Police Association.
Thank you, Mayor and the Council. It's a pleasure to be able to be with you this evening and be invited here to honor Chief Oberg. As was mentioned, he was honored at the Utah Chiefs of Police Association awards banquet at our convention down in St. George, which was a big thing, well attended. Lieutenant Governor spoke, and it was great to have him there and to have him presented that award. There are 109 chiefs in this state, and so you can be very, very proud of Chief Oberg for what he's done. He was the mid-sized city chief that received that award, and it's an honored award, and we are grateful to have him. As you know, he serves on our board as our secretary, and was just recently put in the position of the SACOP representative for our board, which is the State Association of Chiefs of Police, which means at some of the national conventions and a couple of other meetings, he will be networking with several of the across the nation representatives from other nations where he can, or other states where he can find out what's going on in their states, and we can draw that information. So we're glad to have him in that position. We're honored, and it's my pleasure to be here this evening to make that presentation to you.
Thank you so much. Congratulations.
This was the award that was presented Chief of the Year in recognition of Chief Solomon Olberg, Kaysville City Police Department, for outstanding dedication and leadership in the profession of law enforcement with a commitment to Kaysville City and the citizens it serves, 2022.
All right.
Thank you. Sorry, we're all so excited to get a picture. Would you like to say something?
I don't have much to say. This award has my name on it, but it also says Kaysville City Police Department, and this is more of a team award than an individual award, because I can't be successful at what I do without the great men and women that make up our department and the great work they do. So this award is just a reflection of their work. And I have them at work, and then I have my sweet wife at home that supported me in this business for 27 years, and that's the other half of this. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you.
Finally get to order police report.
Chief Olberg, thank you. Thank you for your leadership in the city and all that you do for your department and for us. Yeah, it's kind of a slow night. All right, council, do we have any conflicts of interest to declare? No? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to our consent agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve consent items A through D.
And I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Comments? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Blackham.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Let's move to action item 6A, a resolution declaring a local emergency due to significant water runoff damage in the Orchard Ridge subdivision.
I'll take that one, Mayor.
Thank you.
This is a pretty straightforward resolution that we have for your consideration tonight. What declaring a local emergency does is, while we can't guarantee anything, it does open some avenues for residents in the neighborhood and even the city to receive some federal funding, some local, some charitable funding, and it potentially has the ability to allow public safety efforts in the area to proceed with less encumbrances, I guess. So there's no fiscal impact that we anticipate, no negative fiscal impact we anticipate from this, and I'll take any questions.
Does anyone have questions? Councilmember Adams? No?
Maybe just a quick one.
Okay.
Nick, I guess there's been some things thrown around as far as who's at fault in this situation. I mean, is it worth putting it on record that it wasn't the city's fault for what they did as far as allowing certain permits? I mean, I just kind of felt like that was a little below the belt.
I think it's the facts of the situation are unclear as to who is at fault at this point. And I don't know that it has much legal value to put, even if we thought that, this is not the body that's going to decide who's going to be liable.
Awesome.
Councilmember Oakes?
So potential to go with state or national money, so does the state have a pot of money that's set aside for incidents like this?
I know that in the past we've received state funding and federal funding, FEMA funding. We're still exploring the avenues to access that, and sometimes that requires the governor to declare a state of emergency.
Okay.
I believe when we had the windstorm, the governor declared a state of emergency, and then we declared a local emergency, and that gave us access, and we're still working through the process to see if we can access that. But we think that this is a significant step in that direction.
Okay. And I would imagine that as flooding continues and grows over the next few weeks, that the governor will. So, okay.
That's kind of our thought process as well.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve action item A, resolution declaring a local emergency due to significant water damage, winter runoff damage in the Oak Ridge subdivision.
A second.
Orchard Ridge subdivision.
We have a motion and a second. Comments? Councilmember Jackson?
Yeah, just to reiterate what I said earlier, so proud of our staff, our mayor, and everyone. And the community came together to put sand in bags and really save these homes. Couldn't be more proud. And this is just the beginning. And so I love the fact that we're doing this because oftentimes in emergency declarations, it's a step-by-step process, and there's certain things that cities need to do, counties, the state, to raise this to a level where it needs to be so that we potentially can get funds or protect our citizens or our property and infrastructure and things like that. And so I'm just proud to see this, and this is only the beginning, and I hope that we can mitigate other problems with other subdivisions, but I fully support this. So.
Thank you very much. Ready for a vote? Councilmember Adams.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much. Moving on to 6B, consideration of enacting a new section of City Code 17-5, water efficient landscape standards. Call the public first, right? Public comment. Melinda.
Thank you. We have previously discussed this most recently was March of last year. One of the things that has changed, well, there's a couple things that have changed since that time. One is, I think the initial push that Weber Basin had to have some pretty strict requirements ended up being softened. Last year, at this point, I think only 5 cities that Weber Basin serves had adopted ordinances. There's 18 now. And we as staff took phone calls and in-person visits and emails all summer, spring, summer, and fall with residents who expressed their displeasure that we were not eligible for them to receive the flip the strip funds. So what's before you is a very scaled down version of what has been previously presented, and we're hoping that the council will support this so that our residents can kind of do their part and also reap the benefits of some monetary reimbursement on that. We had this at the Planning Commission meeting on March 23rd. The vote was 6-0 to recommend approval. There were 4 conditions, as you can see what the Planning Commission recommended, and all those conditions have been met. I did put together a graphic that I could bring up and show you that just delineates what the front, side, and backyard are, but it's exactly what you'd expect, which front is everything in front of your house, side yard is between your front yard and where the back of your house ends, and then the rear yard is everything from those points to the rear lot line. So we did have one public comment that was really more of a question about whether or not individuals who have already flipped their strip would be eligible for funding, and Weber Basin won't allow projects that have previously been completed to be eligible for the funding. There also was some monetary, the state designated some funds that would go to all of the water improvement districts in the state, and so all the cities who did adopt standards last year are going to need to change their ordinance in order for citizens in their entities to be eligible for funding that will probably be available next year. So one good thing is that we don't have to revise an ordinance if we would have adopted one last year. The other cities are going to. But what that will do is, I think through the end of this year, Weber Basin will continue their Flip the Strip program as they have. And then starting in 2024, they will begin using the funding that the state has allocated and combine Weber Basin's money with the state's money and start more aggressive turf removal programs, which would include eligibility for other areas of your property apart from just the park strip. So we did also get, or we had one planning commissioner who voted against that. He supports the notion, but felt conflicted with the ordinance going too far in some instances and not going far enough in other instances. His background as a landscape architect really lends him to having more expertise on that. And so this is presented to you for your consideration tonight. We do recommend the City Council approve the ordinance, and I'll take questions.
Okay, thank you. We actually have someone signed up to speak during public comment, so I will turn the time over to Kathy Sorte. Did I say that right?
Yes, I'm
okay.
embarrassed. This is my first City Council meeting.
Well,
so
excellent.
I did not know I was going to have to say anything.
No problem. Okay. You don't have to say anything if you don't want to.
I want to.
Okay.
I just want to. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Jill and I are here. We are from a small...
Let me stop you really fast. You'll have 3 minutes.
I know.
Okay.
Jill and I are here. We are on the board of a very small HOA here in Kaysville, Fairfield Farms, up at 600 North, and there's just 21 elderly residents. We are responsible for the island on 600 North, and we would love to flip that, but there is no way we can afford it. It was 21 people on Social Security. So we're really interested in this, if it would apply. I don't know if it would apply to islands. I just noticed front and backyards, but this is you probably know what street I'm talking about because your son lives right in that area.
Yes.
But it's islands. So anyway, we're just in favor of it. It would help us a ton.
Awesome. Thank you very much. All right, Council, do we have any questions?
Just discussion.
Okay. Yeah, I do have a question on this. So you mentioned 2024. Back me up a little bit. When will it take full effect? If we pass this? I mean, when can people start getting rebate money from Weber Basin?
Yeah, so what Weber Basin is going to do, I believe, is continue the Flip the Strip program as established through the end of this year.
Okay.
So the minute we approve this ordinance, our citizens will be eligible. And it would be next year in 2024 that the water improvement districts will roll out the program in conjunction with the state for broader turf removal. That would be, it could be backyard, your front yard, side yard.
So at that point, would this medium strip in a neighborhood, for example, that she just mentioned, qualify?
That's a good question. One of the things that, a dialogue that came out of, I don't know if it was these residents, their HOA that I met with, but I had talked with John Perry of Weber Basin and then met with someone representing their HOA, and I'm not sure if Weber Basin would consider that median eligible. Is it park strip-ish? I don't know what they would determine, but I think for the funding that the state and Weber Basin would combine for next year, my guess is it would be something that would be eligible. Okay. And one of the things that I think would be fantastic is for those communities or the subdivisions that have HOAs, for them to really start getting aggressive. I think that's a lot of really low-hanging fruit for removing unnecessary turf. I mean, you see it in detention basins, and sometimes those detention basins serve as a soccer field as well, but removing some of that turf in areas it just doesn't need to be because the turf's not being used is really the goal of that program that'll be coming forward next year. And the improvement districts are working, I think, in tandem with the state and the Division of Water to figure out what those exact elements of their plan will be. But it'll be something that'll have to go through the Utah Water Savers. You'll have to create an account. I think that's the same way they're doing the Flip the Strip right now. But There should be, so my understanding is that when I spoke with John Perry about this probably about a month ago, maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago now, they had processed 700 applications and had about another 700 in queue. So 700 people within Weber Basin's district had flipped strips, and they had paid out about $500,000. And they've allocated another at least $500,000. I can't remember if it was $1 million for this year, but they're hoping that everyone they can possibly get through those programs will come through. There will be a point in time this year where I think they will say, look, we're no longer doing this program, we're going to wait until next year. They want to eliminate duplication with those programs. So some people, maybe they feel like it would be better to wait for next year instead of going through the program twice. But people who have already been through the program would be eligible to go through and remove excess turf. But once they reach a certain point in time, the plan is that it'll just be one comprehensive program for all of the turf, no matter where it is.
Okay, thank you very much. That was a great explanation. Anyone else?
Just discussions. All.
Yeah.
Questions?
I mean, I just have a.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Okay. You know, and I looked at this a lot, and I've looked at it hard, and I've tried to. I'm going to try to maybe show you. And politically, this is probably the right thing to do, but I have a hard time. And I'll tell you what. I'm going to go through. This is going to take me a couple minutes. So if you give me a minute or two, okay. So roughly, I figure the rebate is going to be a return back to the residents of about $400 to $500, and we probably will have 20 to 30 people that will do that. I figure based on the numbers. Well, what this does, though, this ordinance now requires that anybody applying for a building permit, that's going to be, and we gained about 280, I think, residential permits in 2022. So there's 280 residences who technically aren't eligible for the flip the strip because they're new construction. And so those they are going to have to, based on this ordinance, they are now going to have to provide a landscape drawing and a sprinkler drawing, and they do have to be done by professionals. And so that's going to add, in my best estimate, probably 2 or 3 hours, which is $200 to $500 on the builder that's going to go in the process of them getting a building permit. So that means the 290 or so people are going to cost them right off the bat by adopting this ordinance about $500 more per building permit. And then you have to go through the process now of actually building the home, and the builder himself has to put up a $1,500 bond. The builder's at the end of the build is not going to say, wait a minute, you're either going to pay me to put your landscaping in, or you're going to give me my bond back at the end of this process so that I can get my bond. And so what that usually means to the people is they're pressured to put their landscaping in, which is, in my best estimates, is going to be somewhere between $5,000 to $10,000 probably to do your landscaping. I think that's a reasonable number. It's probably low, actually.
That's low.
And so now they're going to be pressured to add another $5,000 to $10,000 on their loan. And so now that they've done that, and one of the things with landscaping used to be it was kind of one of those things that anybody could do. It was a good way to work off sweat equity, or you could do it as you could, or you could afford it. But this kind of forces people to do it, and it says that based on this ordinance, it's all based on the occupancy. You technically can't get an occupancy without getting your landscaping done unless you post a bond for that landscaping to the city. And so in order for the city to actually cover themselves, they're going to have to require that estimate come from a landscape company, because if we ever had to take the bond and do it or whatever, we would have to hire somebody to do that. So we would actually have to do that. And so in order for these people to move into their house, if the builder didn't do it, they would have to replace his bond. And so then it takes away their ability to do their sweat equity. And most builders, you don't own your home until you close on your house. The builder actually owns your home pretty much. And a lot of them won't let you work on it anyway. And so you're either going to have to put it in their contract, or they want nothing to do with it, but you'll have to give them their $1,500 bond, and you will also have to. So I look at the potential. So Flip the Strip is a great program if it meant if they would just give you that money because they're saving not having to use that water for the next 50 years while you live in the house or whatever. I wished it was that and didn't, because I'm looking at the affordable housing side of it. So as I look at the affordable housing side, I say 15 to 20 people or so are going to benefit the Flip Your Strip up to the amounts of $400 to $500, because when you figure how much, most of our frontages are between 70 to 100. You take 30 foot for a drive approach out, it's going to be somewhere around 70 feet, and that's around $400 to $500 they're going to get. But if you take the additional cost this ordinance is going to put on somebody building a new home, it's going to be $300 to $500 on the building permit up front. It's going to be $5,000 to $10,000 to get their landscaping done. That will automatically go on their loan, because people just don't have that kind of money to have that, when they're building a new home. And then they're also going to have to come up with a $5,000 to $10,000 bond that they have to present to the city. So in conjunction with putting the bond to the city, they're also going to have to figure out how to come up with the money to actually buy the landscaping and put it in. Then they'll get that money back. And obviously there's things that could be worked out, and they may not all be the same way. But what I look at is I say, okay, if you were taking out a 30-year mortgage and you had to add an additional $12,000 to your loan over 30 years at 5%, you'd pay $23,040 more on your loan. If you were to do $20,000 on a 30-year mortgage at 5%, because of the potentials this may add to you, it's $38,530 you're going to pay an additional for your house. So it kind of hurts the affordable housing that we are told we are supposed to be cognizant of right now. So politically, it's probably the right thing to do, but I've never been very good at political pressure, as you know. So I don't know that I could vote yes for this. That's probably why. And I'm sure some of my numbers might be skewed. They might be high, they might be low. There might be ways to get around it. But it passes, but that would be the reason why I would not be in favor of it.
Councilmember, we've got a line here. I don't know whose button was on first. Let's go this way down. Does that work okay?
Works,
just because we're already here. Okay.
Well, I remember when we didn't pass this almost a year, well, maybe a little less than a year ago. The concern at that point in time was that new developments would have to do a percentage of their landscaping would not be sod. And I think that, if I remember correctly, we were looking at that and thinking like it would be difficult to put that restriction on, say, half-acre lots. Am I correct in assuming, wasn't that the discussion that we had, was that someone had a half-acre lot, you'd be basically telling them that they could only put sod on X amount of their property. Like, I don't even remember this bond discussion coming up at the time. So is the bond and the requirement that you have landscaping and all of that, is that the new part of the ordinance, or was that in the previous one that we discussed in March?
So I believe the bonding that Councilmember Blackham is talking about is our practice for building permits. It's not in the proposed, or is it in the proposed?
It is in there. It actually, where is it?
But while he's looking that up.
It's under 15.5.8. It says completion improvements. All required landscape improvements shall be completed as follows. A commercial developer, industrial, and public facilities project shall be completed prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. A performance bond or cash in any amount estimated by staff as equivalent to the cost of the required landscape may be required to assure installation required within the time prescribed in this section. The only thing it does is in the commercial it says it has to be done with occupancy. The residential, if you go back up and read it, it allows you to go longer than that, but it all ties to the bond regardless of what type of construction.
Because a lot of the times, like when we've done our own sprinkler system, we go to the sprinkler guy place that you buy it from in Layton. I'm trying to remember their name, but they map it out for you. They give you all the stuff and you can go do it on your own. Like Mike was saying, sweat equity, and you have sod parties where everybody comes and helps lay sod because you go to their church. And it seems like, is this making it that impossible to do it, where you have to have it done professionally? Is that what he's...
So that is not a requirement that Weaver Basin has. It's something that they're recommending. And I believe the reason for that is because those in the landscape industry would be more knowledgeable in installing an irrigation system that would be appropriate for the type of vegetation that you're planting. So Councilmember Hunt and I were talking a little bit about this earlier, but with your drip emitters, you have different sizes. And so a landscape professional is going to know this type of plant, this size of drip emitter. This plant, you need a bigger drip emitter or a smaller emitter. So that's a recommendation coming from Weber Basin, but it's not something that we have to have in our code for our residents to be eligible for the flip your strip.
So you're saying we could remove the element of the whole professional landscaper
Correct.
side of it and still fit Weber Basin's requirements for code?
Correct. And we could also remove the bonding portion as well.
Oh, let's do it.
Yeah.
It's getting better.
Okay, Councilmember Jackson.
Okay. With the new updates, it kind of threw me off a little bit. I like what you just said, Melinda, and I like giving our residents and builders possibility. And last year when we talked about this, personally, I felt it was very restrictive, and it kind of it narrowed the amount of people that would qualify to do something like this. Even though personally, I think it's a great thing to flip your strip and to save water. And so I'm really happy to see some of these changes. I feel like it went from good to better. And maybe what we can do tonight can push it over to great. And I fully support allowing our residents to have the ability to do this so we can save water. And I think it is very important. And so just like to see where the discussion goes from here.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Hunt.
Oh, do you want to go
did
this
you?
way? Or?
Sorry. Did you want to? Councilmember Oaks, did you have something to?
No, I was just saying, as long as someone doesn't come measure my 3 inches of mulch that I know I don't have. No, I don't.
It starts at 3, but then the wind blows and it's 5 in some areas.
Yeah.
You live east of me, I'll get it all.
Yeah.
Or 0 in some others. Now, Councilmember Adams, I thought I remembered last year, one of the primary reasons I remember voting against this was because it would have been too onerous on staff to mandate or to what's
calculate
the right word?
Percentages and
yeah, and that seems to have gone away, and so I hate regulations. You know, I personally, the fewer ordinances, the better on some, and that would be the reason I would vote against it. But as Councilmember Blackham said, politically, even with this year of water, we needed probably another couple winters, like 3 more winters like this to where we'd say we weren't in a drought. And you know, and with the changes that Councilmember Blackham just, you know, that Melinda, you recommend we can take, I'm probably okay with it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Oaks. Councilmember Hunt.
Well, you guys stole my thunder. I did talk with Melinda about this in the hall before we got here, and I took issue with the fact that people weren't going to be able to DIY their stuff. So I'm glad it's been brought up and that we've kind of come to a resolution on that. And I think pretty much everything else is taken care of. There is one issue that was brought up in the Planning Commission meeting where someone was concerned that the way it's worded would prohibit people from like hand watering, because generally your hose hooks up to your culinary. Here it says you can't use culinary for, landscaping. And in that section, because it falls within the section that it becomes a misdemeanor, which was brought up. And so, but I think as I was speaking with Melinda before this, that requirement is in other areas of our code. So if we when, or if we, whatever we decide on this, I would want to continue looking into that, just because, I mean, my park strip doesn't have irrigation, and so when we try to grow anything there, we have to water it by hand or else let it be weeds, and every time we water it by hand, we're misdemeanor, yep, and we're breaking the law. So my kids love the strawberries we're growing there,
And I'm
so
gonna
it
come
might be
watch.
worth it.
You can grow dandelions without irrigation.
Doing anything.
We have no problem growing dandelions.
We'll charge you as a co-conspirator if you watch.
So I guess that's just something that I wanted to bring up, to have out there, because I know it was brought up in Planning Commission and was a concern, just something to look at later. But in general, like last year, I was in favor of doing it. I'm glad that we've been able to work it out so that it will not be as difficult for staff to maintain, and that it's something that we can feasibly enforce and
Do you guys have a faucet though?
Councilmember Adams, would you like to comment?
No, I was just asking for the second.
Question? Thank you. Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. Are we ready for a motion?
Mike, why don't you make it since you can eliminate?
Thank you,
I won't do
Councilmember
it.
Adams,
I
for
won't do it.
volunteering him.
I'm not for it. I'm still against it.
Oh.
It's unfunded mandate. Regardless of whether you take the bonding still away, you still have the cost that goes to the housing for having a design professional that designs a landscape.
I thought you didn't have to do that. I thought we could take that out.
You can take it, how will you do that then? I mean, I don't understand how because they'll still have to give you a site plan, a landscape plan, and an irrigation plan. And this says the irrigation plan will have to be designed by a professional. You're gonna have to pay for that. That's gonna have to be paid for. And then I applaud that you say your guys can take on that responsibility but it is unfunded mandate. Your plan reviewer guy is gonna have to look at them. He's gonna have to say they're okay. He's gonna have to prove them. There's gonna be certain standards. He's gonna have to look at them to make sure they're okay. Your inspectors will have to go out and inspect towards that approved plan to make sure it's there or not. And if we do get rid of the bonding, you still have to do it. It's still an ordinance that says you've got to complete it. And you've got to complete it on a residence within 1 year. You can have 1 9-month extension. And I still look at the fact if they have to do that, I mean, if we're going to eliminate completely the having to turn in a landscape plan, an irrigation plan, and if we're going to eliminate the bonding and all that, then I don't think there would be a problem with it, because there's no additional cost to the housing if that's the case, and that would allow people to come in and put their landscape in. It'd allow the builder to get his $1,500 bond back, and then the homeowner could take over and put their landscape in when they could afford it, and then it wouldn't be a cost if we're willing to take all that out of the ordinance.
I think all of that could come out. It's not required by Weber Basin to meet the standards. The requirements that are the standards that are required is that no more than 35% of your front and side yards that's landscaped can be turf, and then the commercial is no more than 10%, and then look at this. It's the no turf in less than 8 feet, no turf in park strips, although they put that in state code, and then I believe the other part is the no turf in areas with slopes greater than 25%. So we can eliminate those other sections and simplify it and still.
Do you want me to table it and have her do that?
Excuse me.
Oh, sorry.
And still be
I think you
eligible.
interrupted Melinda. Okay. Now, John, Councilmember Adams, would you like to do something?
Just with all those changes, I would recommend that we table it and have those modifications made, unless you guys think that we can vote on it with those modifications.
I think staff understands our intent. I
Do
think
they?
we can probably vote on it and have them, it seems pretty straightforward, correctly interpret what we're hoping to do and implement it correctly.
Do you feel good about that? I mean, I want to make sure that
There's definitely more simplification that we can do and still meet the requirements for eligibility for our residents. And so, this was just a scaled down version even from what they would like us to do. We can look through here real quickly. So these prohibited watering practices were a concern for the Planning Commission. This section right here is already in our code.
Okay.
I think we do have restrictions for connecting your culinary water into the secondary.
Can't do that.
You know, this doesn't have to be in here. Anything watering, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Mills, but any violation of our city ordinance is a misdemeanor, right? A Class A misdemeanor?
They're typically infractions, but they're criminal
Okay.
offenses, yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, we could even change that. So I'm okay either way. If you want me to pare this down more and bring it back, I'm fine to do that, but I think there's some things, you know, we can definitely eliminate. The applicability, this is required. I don't believe this section is required, but the new landscape is. And the reason for that is because Weber Basin doesn't want one person to come in and flip their strip, and then a new home comes in and puts grass in their park strip, and the efforts are completely canceled out. So that's their intent with having this, and the requirement that we have to have this in place for the eligibility. It's basically just chasing your tail if you're not doing one with the other. So I believe A, B, C are required. D is required. E we need to have in there. I think that only makes sense, but we have a clear view established anyway, and so that's in other elements of our code. You know, I think we could even take this part out. We do have our code that says you can't have weeds greater than 8 feet. This is very subjective, and I think that was one of the problems that Commissioner Sunlove had with it. It was like, well, what's a well cared for manor? That does not need to be in there.
Do you guys, I mean, Mayor?
Councilmember Adams.
Do you, I mean, for me, it's just like a lot of the times when we say, oh, you know, you kind of get where we're coming from. It's just like one or two things. This is enough stuff that I would want to read over the revised version before I voted on it. So for me, and maybe it gets shot down, you know, Councilmember Hunt, but I'm going to make a motion that we table it and have you make those adjustments and give us a chance to read it and look back, knowing that we want to get it in so that you guys can flip that strip. That'd be my motion.
I'd second that.
Can I make a friendly amendment before we second?
Yeah, I'll welcome a friendly amendment.
Sorry, am I too late? Let us know.
Technically, after a second, you should offer a substitute motion.
Oh, does it have to change the substance substantially, though?
No.
Okay, well, then I guess since it's already been seconded, I would make a substitute motion, everything John said, but just that we bring it back, if possible, next meeting or as soon as possible, just so it's not sitting in there, because I know sometimes tabled things can just
Linger.
die. Not that I think staff would do that, but, you know, I would want to get it done.
Okay, we have a motion, a substitute motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second.
You guys okay with that?
Conversation, comments? No?
You know,
Okay.
I have a comment.
Oh, yes, Councilmember Jackson?
I am supportive of doing this tonight, but I would like our council to have a strong yes. And I'm okay with some of these changes, but I do think it's important that we don't let perfect get in the way of great. So that's all I want to say.
Okay, thank you. So we have a substitute motion, a second, and I'll call for a vote. Councilmember Hunt?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, councilmember reports. Does anyone have anything to report? I will report that I was out of town, but I understand we had a robust Easter egg hunt with our Easter bunny.
They didn't let
Oh, they
the Easter
didn't?
bunny come.
Oh, okay,
'Cause they
scratch
were
that.
nervous that the suit would get wet.
Oh, that's true. It is a very fluffy
But
suit.
she, whoever the Easter bunny was
Very
there and
sad.
willing.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, the Easter egg hunt was a blast.
Councilmember Hunt was the one that was able to do the countdown, so thank you for being there.
Thank you.
Councilmember
I just want to say
Blackham.
that she did a fantastic job, but it was amazing that the amount of people that actually showed up and they had a very successful Easter egg hunt in the snow. And it was funny because I went there the very next day and it was all gone. But I had some people compare it to other Easter egg hunts that they went to, and ours was by far the better.
That is nice.
And it's amazing that our people got out there and got it already and got it. And Councilmember Hunt did an amazing job announcing it and getting it going.
Well, thank you very much. Good job, Councilmember Hunt.
I can count.
Awesome.
Backwards even.
Backwards?
Yes, we're done.
And you're so fun. Okay, does anyone else have anything to report on? Okay, I will just mention that my husband and I were able to go up to Orchard Ridge last night, and I'm, like Councilmember Jackson said, so impressed by the youth groups that were up there, by the different areas. I know that Public Works had someone spend the night up there in their truck watching the water just to monitor it. We was so proud of the outstanding job that Kaysville City is doing, from the fire department to the police department to staff taking extra calls to our public works department and our legal team and administrative people. So just thank you so much. If people have questions about that, please contact our city manager and he can field those questions. We're going to be headed this week to the Utah League of Cities and Towns, well, this next week. So we're excited to learn more as a council and bring back some great things for our city. City manager, do you have a report or anything to say?
I think just want to add what you said all about our exceptional response from our crews. Just amazing. You know, there's a phrase, all in, and you look at our departments that work together, it's because they're all in, and it's just amazing to me how well they work together. Just wanted to say that. And then maybe just one quick calendar item. Budget work session was originally scheduled for tomorrow. It is April 28th, Friday, April 28th at 8:30 in the morning. 2 weeks. About 4 hours long.
It's my birthday.
April 28th.
Can you change it on the calendar so it shows up on our calendars? I don't know.
So we can bring a cake, and if they have, you know.
I think it might have been Shane that put that on the calendar. Anyway, we can talk about that, to delete that. Okay.
Oh, man, we're going to have to.
All right, thank you, everybody. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, also motion.
No.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.
Somebody's been deposed all day.
Someone's in a bad mood.
Get out of here.
Shut up, Councilmember Adams.
Oh, no.